All right, what is going on, guys? It is time for another episode of the Chasing Waypoints podcast, and well, we are winding them down. We're closing out the year, and it is getting really close to go time. Recording this episode already on Friday. Hey, look at that. Things in the way. Can't tell today's date. Well, they all blend together when you work longer hours, but anyway. What is going on? 94, episode number 94 of the Chasing Waypoints podcast, and today we got something a little bit different. It's actually going to be a little mini series between now and Dakar. What are we going to be talking about? Well, if you read the title, you kind of maybe know what it is already, but let's talk about it. Here we go. So, American Rally Originals getting ready to head out to the Dakar. I've been keeping up with them. I've been the fly on the wall in the chat and just watching all of the stuff that goes on and getting ready just to go to the Dakar, right? We're not even there yet. These guys aren't even there yet. Mentally, maybe. They're already in game time. Everybody seems focused on what they need to be doing, which is really awesome. Clicking the things off, but today's episode, a little bit different. I was thinking on the way to work, it'd be really cool. These guys are about to embark on a huge adventure. And so I think it's time we talk a little bit about something other than the Dakar with them. So today's episode going to be Jim and Dave Pearson talking a little bit about their adventures and what they've done up until now, because I think the Dakar is about to replace the most epic adventure they've had. So anyway, with that being said, that is the intro. You guys tune into the interview. Stay tuned to the very end. I got some more announcements, some rally updates for you. And we'll get ready because episode 95, 5 more episodes to episode 100. So absolutely stoked about that. Anyway, with that being said, enjoy. Hey guys, what's going on? Super quick break in the podcast episode. I hope you guys are enjoying. I just wanted to mention really quick, I've been using the Anchor.fm platform for all of the podcast distribution and everything, and it is very, very simple. So if you guys have been thinking about getting into your own podcast, doing your own thing, talking about your own adventures and what you've got going on your side of the planet, it is very, very simple. All you got to do is go down to your app store, whatever that may be, if it's Android or if it's on Apple. Download the Anchor app, or you can also go to anchor.fm, create an account, and get started. It is super, super simple. So anyway, with that being said, back to the episode. All right. I think we're going to go with Jim first. Because Jim...
Excellent. Before beauty.
Is that what it... I thought it was experience before beauty. Is that what we're going to go with, Jim?
Looks before smarts.
Okay. Nice. All right, Jim. Where are you at in the world?
I am just outside of Jeddah, Saudi Arabia.
Nice. Okay, so you mean business. You're already there. Are you practicing starts yet?
On the ground. I drove through Yanbu, which is the start of the event, a few days ago and scoped out the areas. No idea where the sea camp is. Couldn't find that. And usually I have a pretty good nose for these things. So it's still secret. Dakar keeps their secrets well.
Nice. Well, yeah, you do have this ability, right, to navigate into the middle of nowhere with using a bunch of pictures and numbers. So you think it'd be easy to find.
I even tried to backdoor it in with the information that they provided with some bivouac instructions. I still couldn't find it. I do know where the port is.
Okay. So you're just going to have to start following vehicles. You're going to have to sit outside the port and do some recon work there. That looks like an ASO vehicle.
And then they actually send out a notification saying, welcome to the start of the race, and here's your first stop at the sea camp in Yanbu, and here's the GPS coordinates. So
nice.
I think that's coming.
Nice. Well, good. And countdown. How long have you been there?
Just a week. We came in from Jordan through Israel, which was an interesting trip to get here.
Oh. I think Well, it's been a whole interesting trip because you were only here stateside for like 2.5 hours and then went back. So you've been traveling the world for a minute.
Well, and I spent an hour and a half of that in Mexico.
Oh, okay.
So
hitting all the continents, all the countries you can. So that was the in the intro. I really want to talk to this. The other day I was driving to work and I was like, this is interesting. This is going to be a really big adventure, right? Malamoto is one of the toughest Dakar classes you can compete in. I mean, I think it's hands down. You guys are going to be doing everything yourselves. Yeah, there's a little bit of assistance, but it's not what people think. So that's a big adventure. And I'm like, well, before we get into that adventure, because I feel like it's going to replace or add to, like when people ask you, right, what is the biggest adventure you've been on? I feel like for you guys, it's probably going to change to Dakar after this. But the question is before this, before the Dakar, what's been the biggest adventure you've been on?
Well, I'm currently mid round the world by caravan trip. And so right now that's the top of my big adventure list, and it's still ongoing. I was lucky enough to be able to fit the Dakar in on that process and actually drive there. So it's been really interesting trying to coordinate all that and get halfway around the world with your RV caravan going through 20 odd countries last year.
That's nuts. So how did that adventure come about? When did you decide to do this? What was the...
Jim says RV, but you have to think Ford E550 Earth Roamer when you think RV.
Yeah, that is very true.
I chose an expedition truck because, we like to get off the beaten path. We don't go and do these rallies to see the normal terrain, and that carries through to my other lifestyle stuff too. So it's got to be capable of going off-road and seeing over what's over the next horizon, and instead of just pavement.
Nice. So this is, absolutely an adventure. You're in the adventure bike equivalent of a motorhome.
Correct.
Enough off-road, capable to do enough off-road, but it's not going to be a Dakar entrant, like the big Kamaz and all those things.
Not even close. It's got a house. It's got everything you need to be self-sufficient and off-grid.
Nice. Very nice. And so this adventure, now I know you guys were involved with motorcycles here stateside forever and a half. When did this adventure start? What was the...
It was the started with me with COVID and going, our business model changed, and it was a good time for me to have an exit strategy there. And David basically pushed me out the door, which is the push I needed, and decided not going to live in fear. So I shipped my truck overseas in the height of COVID and started traveling the world in that time frame and haven't looked back.
That's awesome. And is there, do you have a road book? Do you have a list of places you're going to see, or you just get to a place and pick the next place?
It's a combination. You have to learn to be flexible. A lot of times you don't know what you don't know until you're on the ground. Mm-hmm. And you have to be flexible to go, I heard this from other people, or this is an interesting thing I saw on the map, and be willing to take the time to go see those things. Of course, you have the big goals in each place. One of my ways to see some interesting culture and experiences in countries is to go visit the World Heritage Sites and use that as a guide, a pathway to see some of the most interesting cultural and historical things in the world, and it is really enriching.
Yeah, I saw the picture the other day that you posted. Was that in Petra? No, where were you at?
Petra, Jordan. Yeah, the Nabatean civilization of 2,000 years ago. That city was large. They estimate there was probably 100,000 people there 200,000 years ago, and full on culture and commerce and bookkeeping. And, that's kind of been one of the surprising things I've been kind of learning in my travels, is that my perception and my readings, I've kind of thought that, we didn't kind of become like an active human species until, 500 years ago. And I'm finding out that 5,000 years ago, you had the baker, the tailor, and the bookkeepers, the accountants, the whole works, the whole commerce thing, and exchanges and barter systems and money was occurring so long ago. It's been an eye-opener.
Wait, so if I'm hearing this correctly, the second oldest profession in the book is an accountant. I feel like that's or a bookkeeper.
I don't know. That's a lot of debate going on there.
Yeah. Speaking of cities, David, we were talking warming up here a minute ago. You mentioned a very interesting fact about the Dakar and lunch service.
Yeah, we were looking through some of the material on the Dakar for the event. They sent some stuff out to competitors, a lot about the bivouac, and they were talking about the cafeteria, right? Because we just need to know how far we are in Malimoto to the cafeteria, and they're saying statistically they will serve about 9,000 meals a day through that cafeteria for the event, and that's support crew, that's trucks, motorcycles, quads, 8 side-by-sides, that's all of us and all the people around it, ranges about 9,000 meals a day. Then they pack up all that stuff and they move on to the next bivouac. It's crazy.
That means that with all the people at the event, there's about 3,000 accredited people that are traveling with the event every day.
That is absolutely nuts. I mean, that if that puts it into perspective, right? That many, just having to serve that many meals, and like you said, Jim, 3,000 people. I mean, I don't know, how many people fit on an aircraft carrier? I feel like it's about
400 or 500.
Yeah.
No, aircraft carrier carries 6,000.
Sorry.
Okay. So half of one of those, but still.
It's just as pull it out of your butt statistics.
Oh, okay. That's the OMA file, the out of my ass file. Okay. So speaking of food, Jim, now that you've traveled all of this so far and the adventure's not over, the food, what's been the craziest food? Like, you maybe were surprised by, or, when you think food, what's the first thing that comes to mind from where you've traveled?
Well, didn't really enjoy the tripe soup in Bulgaria. The pasta dishes were fantastic in Italy. Greek salad's my new favorite salad. I don't know why we don't serve that more often. It's about the healthiest choice you can go. We almost have that every meal now. And but the one thing that's been really surprising for me on this trip is how many people bring us food and just to come talk to us. So they bring a gift of fruit or fresh bread or tea or even full meals and breakfasts, and chase us down and flag us over and want to have a meal on the side of the road with us and picnic. It's been fantastic. The hospitality of the people around the world has just been surprising.
Interesting. And so that's, so what I know, right? Baja California South versus Baja California North are two different countries. I mean, it really, the mentality, the people kind of really changes. In what you've traveled already, I mean, have you found another place that's kind of like the States, and what have you seen here? I mean, that kind of hustle and bustle, or?
There's definitely hustle and bustle in every country. It's usually around the large metropolitan areas. I haven't found too many places that you can't get all the services that you absolutely are critical. You can find them in every country. Some of them you got to go a little further for, but I find that people are hustling everywhere.
Nice. Yeah. I guess that obviously makes sense, right? That's the one thing you should never talk down to somebody or whatever. You don't know what their struggle is and what their life is. And so I guess, I mean, every country is going to have its own culture, and what from the outside looks like it's, oh, this is pretty relaxed. It's not. There's struggles there. There's everything.
Well, it's just like traveling across the U.S. You can see the whole spectrum in the U.S. That's true in every country that we find, from, the people that are working hard every day to the ones that are hustling it in the cities and everything in between.
Yeah. So far, has there been a place that you wish you would have spent more time at, or that you want to go back to?
Still, yes, we didn't get to explore all the Balkan areas, Croatia, Serbia, Montenegro, that area. Didn't have time to explore. And we'll try to figure out something in the future. And then Greece definitely had some more spots and some more history that we didn't get to see. Even though you spent 30 days there, you still don't get to see very much. So there's a lot more to see. I can't pinpoint it down to everywhere, but there's other parts over the horizon that are just as interesting.
Nice. Well, yeah, you're on the sighting lap. For those of you in motocross, you're just seeing which ones are the ones worth going back. Now, exploring wise, you've done it both in the Earth Roamer, but then also you've been doing rallies around. It seems like you're not only is it the heritage sites that you're visiting, but it's also rallies and stuff that you've been doing. Which ones have you done, and what have they been like?
I've had fun. I've done a rally in Spain, the Andalusia rally. It was through olive fields and stuff like that. It wasn't definitely one of my favorites, just because they had so many restrictions on you can't get off the course type of thing, so you didn't have the opportunity to get lost. They had flag corners, so the pace was high, and that was that style of race, but it didn't do much for testing your navigation skills. Greece was a lot of fun, actually, with a lot of varied terrain. So I did a rally in Greece, fairly close to Athens. And, that's mountain riding and lots of rocks and down to the ocean. So that one was actually a blast. Did well there. Was floating around in the top 10 for most of the days and getting out early. So that was good. And then I did one in Romania, 6-day rally, in the same kind of areas that they do the Romaniacs hard enduro. Went through that town. Thankfully, they didn't send us up any of those crazy hard enduro hill climbs, because that would have knocked a lot of people out. But that was a wet event, full of mud. So I've gotten in quite the variety, and that was a blast. I got 5th overall in the motorcycle class at that event.
Nice. All right. So getting some warm up. And what you said is true. I've heard that a lot from a lot of the competitors that have gone to Andalusia. This is kind of a special rally in that sense, that it's more WRC than rally raid. Marked corners, very high speed. You got to get comfortable backing bikes into corners and drifting. And, so I feel like a little bit of a handful.
Yeah, and that's what it was set up for. So that, if you know that going in, that's what to expect. But if you want to have additional, the navigation is kind of a lot of the fun part of rally raid, is the, have to kind of work on that thinking part of the sport, which makes it interesting for me.
Yeah. Nice. Well, you're gonna get a few days of challenge here coming in short order.
Yeah, I've been studying their. They released what the days were going to be like and liaison times, and boy, they look like they're really set up to work you hard. The very first 3 days looks particularly challenging as far as length of the specials and time on the bike.
Oh man! So the welcome is very much a tough one, not an easy welcome.
I think they're going to put it in your face, is the way that I kind of read it.
Yeah, which is funny because we were watching the and I'm sure you guys saw it, the interview with Costera and them, like where they were presenting the stages, and he made it seem like, day one, it's easy, just a light jaunt around the building and, nothing too bad. But it sounds like you guys are getting the real picture.
If they're saying day one is the prologue day, that's a whole whopping 11 kilometers. Yeah, that's just a little zip around the bivouac and back. He's right. It would be, stage one is a lot different than that.
Yeah. Yeah. They said, what is it? Oh yeah. They said stage one, he says, easy navigation, getting their legs, is how he put it in stage one. So I don't think that's the prologue, but the actual stage. But man, I don't know. It sounds like it might be a different picture you guys are getting. Nice. Well, are you looking forward to any other adventure after this, after the Dakar, or are you just solely focused on that?
No, you always got to be thinking ahead, Victor, and making plans. So, trying to decide whether to go see Africa or the Stands, which is Himalayas, Pamir Mountain kind of concept, up through Tajikistan, got Kakistan, all the stands up there. There's at least 7 countries that end in stand.
Yeah.
So haven't made that decision. We'll probably make that after the Dakar, after catching our breath.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see you're probably going to take a few days after that just to kind of hang out and not do anything. Let the body recuperate. So nice. Well, I know it's late where you're at, so we'll, if you want to sign off, we'll switch over to Mr. David Pearson. I know you've
excellent
been there, but I appreciate you sharing. Yeah, absolutely, and I appreciate you sharing. Your adventure and what you're on now, and we'll catch up after. I feel like there's got to be a part 2 to that, and after the Dakar.
Well, there certainly is, and then David and I have been fortunate to have quite a number of adventures in our lives, and this is just the current one I'm on. There's lots of good stories about old ones too.
Nice. Yeah.
This is definitely the biggest, I think. We just keep going up in levels, and I don't know if there's another one bigger than this, Jim. So I've been doing that research.
Yeah. That's what I said. I'm like, this is going to top a lot of adventures. This would be like when asked the question, what's the biggest adventure you've been on? I feel like this is going to replace a lot of them.
True.
Yeah. When you throw it out there as that kind of question, riding across Australia. Was that as big? Or doing a loop around South America on our adventure bikes, chasing the Dakar race. That was a great adventure. That's a big one. 3 weeks chasing the whole event.
Yeah.
Doing 17,000 foot passes and going through the Atacama Desert. That's big.
For crazy history on that, Victor, too, that was 2014, which my Jim and I and about three other guys went down there and chased some of the race. The only American racing that year was a guy by the name of Mike Johnson on a Honda that I think could barely keep together. After that, came back, and now he's the guy that we all love and know on the whole rally comp world.
Yeah, that's crazy. And he finished that.
He did.
Yeah. Well, he kept the Honda running. Who would have known years later?
I've heard some stories from him on putting in 3 stators in one day, and having to source them out of dead bikes on the side of the trails. Been pretty interesting. That he said that was a long day for him, like 22 hours or something.
Oh, I'm going.
Jim, good to talk to you, sir. Love you. I'll catch up with you on our spreadsheets, and I'll see you in a week and a half, 2 weeks.
Sounds great. Signing off.
All right. See you, sir.
Bye.
All right, David.
Victor.
Are you ready?
I am so ready a long time ago. So I have been planning on this one for years, and I'm just keep spreading out amongst my gear bags, trying to make sure I got everything I need,
Yeah. And that's, I kind of saw some of the posts that you guys had in the group and seeing that, right? And everybody's talking about what you guys are packing and what you guys are doing. I mean, how much of a challenge has that been? What goes on the bike? What goes in the bag? What gets taken? I mean,
yeah, it's definitely ebbed and flowed, and we've been fortunate. Just we've all been fortunate. Kyle's been a great connector and a good history guy, and so a lot of the Americans that have done the Dakar have been very helpful. And so, but we're getting stuff from like Ricky Braybrick and Andrew Short and Skyler and now Mason, and they're giving us their list of their gear and the stuff they're bringing. And we're like, oh, we just need to duplicate that. If you can do what the pros can do, you can do, right? And then we were talking to Bass Dakar, which is helping us get our Malle Moto stuff prepped for when we get over there, bikes and boxes. And we're like, yeah, okay, we've got all this. We got like 7 gear sets and all this thing. And Bart's like, what? You're in Malle Moto. You'd be lucky to change your gear once. So, plus they're not going to pack all your shit. So we've been scaling down, and then it's what parts, what bits, what pieces, what mechanical stuff to bring. So it's been a constant ebb and flow, and I'm sure it'll change over the next couple of days, but I think the bulk of it is there. And after some point, you just figure it out,
Yeah. Yeah. At one point, I feel like that's going to be okay, we can't take this, so we're going to have to pare it down to that and just send it. I feel like that's because there's not a lot of room, right? I mean, the Malle Moto box is about what size?
I think it's an 80-liter metal trunk that fundamentally is going to hold all of our bike mechanical stuff and probably a few other things, but air filters, oil filters, tools, nuts, bolts, zip ties, bits and pieces, duct tape, all those things, right? So that is what that box is going to contain. The organization is going to let us drag a gear bag around, and then probably one other small duffel that will house our camping supplies. And that's really it. Other than that, they throw a tent at you, a stand for your bike, a seat for your ass, and they wish you well.
And attaboy. Go get him, Tiger.
When you're crying in the corner, they come over and they're like, it looks good. You keep go.
Yeah, go. So I saw that, I saw Baja Rally. I saw the video of you guys working on setting up a tent. Is that the tent that these guys provide? Is that what's...
Victor, it's the only tent we get, and I still can't do it. So A few of the guys have physically went out and bought the tent, so they own it and they've been sleeping in it. I've been adventure riding for a long time in my life, so I have like 12 tents. I don't need another tent. and that tent is purpose built. It's a great tent, but it won't fit folding nicely on my KTM 890 or my 450. And so I just said, I'm not going to buy it. It can't be that hard. And then I got to the Baja and tried to use Paul's, and then that's where Willem caught that video, and then things went a little viral.
And may or may not have ended up on the internet.
Yeah, they may or may not have bleeped a bunch of it, and there's I've talked to enough guys that may or may not have, out of rage, ripped the thing completely apart. So, but
they use some of those duct tape and zip ties to that'll work.
It is number one on my list of things to do when I get to Saudi, is to get my tent, go sit in a corner and get my sweat workout in and practice that thing for 2 hours till I get it right. I've dedicated 2 hours to that tent. Better not let me down.
Yeah. And so that was an interesting thing. And you kind of mentioned it a minute ago with Bart saying about, packing stuff up. So just, can you give a quick 30,000 foot overview of what a day in Malamoto looks like? What you're expecting?
So I think if you talk about it in an in and out situation, we've all been working on our own individual kind of lists of things, right? And they share a lot of commonalities. At 30,000 feet, I've boiled it down to when I come in for the day, it's deal with my body, deal with my camp, my bike, my body, and go to bed, right? I mean, but we look at it as soon as you show up, to the details of get gas, and with that comes the caveat. If I get gas, I got heavy weighted tanks to take off and stuff to take off. And depending on what repairs or maintenance I got to do, I just got to keep making alternate decisions, right? But get gas, get your bike on the stand, grab your gear bag, move into your work clothes, set up your tent, get yourself prepared, eat, then start looking at your motorcycle, get that repair done before you get maintenance done, because if you can't fix it, then you got your bigger problem. Then work on your maintenance, and then deal with tires and deal with food and a rider's meeting and a start time. It just, there are a huge list that goes down to all the way of, eating your vitamins and taking your pills and getting ready for bed, and then hitting the sack and, making sure you set your alarm, because it's 3-4 a.m. mornings every day. It's not, and we're on a 12-hour cycle change of time anyway, just getting over there. So the time changes are just going to be daunting the first couple of days,
Yeah, get settled in. And what do you guys, that's an interesting one, because it literally is, like, I was looking at it, and it's literally opposite. We're going to bed, you guys are waking up and racing. We wake up to results here stateside. So what are you guys doing to prepare for that? I mean, is there anything you're doing?
I just finished, I read a little while ago, but I finished another couple of recaps of the Joey Evans book, which is the Para de Dakar, interesting, just super motivational Dakar experience from a guy from South Africa. He was a paraplegic, came back and rode the Dakar. It was amazing. But one of the things he said getting over there was he just wasn't going to even look at the results, because it wasn't, the whole goal is to finish. And so all he really focused on every day was to go in and figure out what his start time was. And as long as he made his start times and he could finish the day, that was what was important. How he finished and how he raced is not. And I'm taking a big playbook cue from that as well. And my goal is to not look at results. My goal is to look at my start times, know when I have to be in, be out. I'll let the chips fall where they may a little bit, Victor.
Yeah. That's that's a very interesting thing that you say, because I've seen it at rallies. There's some guys that are like jonesing for the results. Like, they just crossed the line and they're either hanging out because they want to know what the times are. They're coming over my shoulder to look at the rally comp screen to see, okay, well, how does mine compare and all that. But what you're saying makes absolute sense. The goal is to finish. And I think that it starts there. Is, okay, well, we know there's a number associated with the day today, but try to ignore that.
I got that, I got into that just finishing up with the Sonora Rally because, it was my third rally in a month and a couple of days. And Baja sort of got that into my head, because you just had a couple of days where, Paul had a big accident. And so it just wakes you up a little bit and you say, okay, I got to make these days and not worry about where I place. And even the Sonora, which was a good event for me, I won the road to Dakar. One of the guys that I'd really bonded with for a while was a guy by the name of Jordan Reed from Canada. And we finished the whole event, and he finished 7th pro to my 8th pro overall by a minute. And I kept, we were just inching each other a little bit and nudging. And I'm like, had I known, I might have turned it on when he came by me on the last day and just kept with him, because then I would have taken the minute. I probably had the energy and the power to do it, but I'm like, I just have to finish this event. That was the key for me, and it turned out to be the better way to roll.
Yeah. The results showed and it worked, and you ended up. And congratulations, by the way, you ended up with the road to Dakar, right?
Yeah, it was a huge, unexpected boost to the budgeting process for all of us. For me, for sure. We had it all in our sights for the Sonora. Paul didn't make it. Myself, the rest of us, Jim showed up, as you know, for a couple of days of supporting the organization and doing a little bit of final chasing, and so it worked out really well. I couldn't get more excited, and Jim and I both been vying for the road to Dakar for the last 4 or 5 years. So it's cool that one of us finally got it.
Yeah, Jim's going to be Jim's turn next year.
Yeah, we'll see.
If he's stateside and he's not, in some far off place, which either way is a win.
True. Yeah, true.
So, speaking of, adventures and being in places everywhere around the world, what has been your big adventure before the Dakar?
Yeah. I was listening to Jim's, and Jim and I have been very fortunate that we have had some amazing adventures. Our parents passed away when we were quite young, mother in our early 5s and 6, and then our father in our teens. And so we really became quite self-reliant, but it also sort of put us on a road early throughout the United States. And we spent a couple of months camping from Florida to Colorado, where we ultimately moved. And so it just set the bug in place for us. And so we've been working hard to always have good vacations and good adventures. And I think the big one for me, Victor, is I had a early midlife crisis when I was 29, 30, and worked at a bank job and just needed change. And so I managed to pull a trigger, and I sold my house and every motorcycle I owned but one. And I got in a backpack, and I bought the round the world ticket and a Euro pass, and I had a couple of key spots to go to, and I spent 10 months in a backpack, living in hostels, traveling around the world. So it was an awesome experience. It was totally an awesome experience.
Yeah. I mean, that's, the name Charlie Sinuwan comes to mind because I know that was something, kind of a similar thing that he's done, and he's been traveling the world for I don't know how many years now. But dude, that's crazy. I had no idea that you had done that. I was 30 on those travels, and so I was in hostels in all sorts, and I did a little bit different than Jim. I really like the people and the emotional aspect of the connections and the community. I wasn't quite the cultural history site guy. I like the modern, what's going on. And so I was, I flew to London initially. And so, I hit a lot of the big cities. I spent time through Europe, and then I got out of Europe, and I spent a month in Thailand and a month in Australia, and time in Egypt. And so it was really cool experience to travel around. But I was 30 hanging out with, 21, 22-year-old college kids that just kept looking at me like, I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, well, we just got finished school, and so I'm on my sabbatical before I get a life, and I'm like, oh, I just finished my life, man. Don't do it, So, it's crazy. It's crazy. Dude, yeah. I mean, and that's so on that trip, what was the particular highlight? I mean, was there a place that you went to? Was there a mini adventure in that?
I had a very fluid around the world thing, but I made two key things happen on that 10 months, and one of them was Thailand. I just really wanted to explore Thailand. So I spent a month in Thailand, a little bit of that on motorcycle. I rented a bike there for a while and rode around. And then I did the eco adventure tour in Thailand, where I spent 2 weeks in a eco jungle tour with an Australian company and a couple Australian ladies. And so we did, couple 3 days on the backs of elephants through small villages in the jungle of Thailand. And then I kayaked down a little bit of one of the tributaries to the river Kwai, and spent some time in villages that were, 30, 40 people. And, the chief moves out of the main village hut, you get in there, and, and we all kind of try and communicate and relate. And so that was by far one of my awesome experiences. The kayaking was crazy. Just running an elephant was like, it's like dirt bike riding, because those guys would come down these big mud hills into the river crossings, and they would just slide their whole body from one slide of a berm to the next slide of the berm, right? And you're sitting on top of it or holding it to ear, hoping to God it makes it through this thing, and then every once in a while it shows you who's boss and takes you into the woods or the jungle and tries to get rid of you, Great.
So do you ride with your toes pointed in on those to kind of grip grip with your knees a little better?
You do, and I was that crazy guy, so I often, went for the head roll, because they had, the elephants had a little sitting area on top of the back, or you could just jump up on the head, grab the ears, and keep on going. The Thai guides had very much vocal control over the elephants, and they directed them that way. And then every once in a while we'd do a river crossing where it was really much like you knew the current, and where you went into the river crossing and where you came out was like 200 meters apart, right? Because those elephants just moved down the river, right? Because they couldn't come right across it. It was moving so fast. And so then you get every one of the guides and all of us, you get 5 or 6 people hanging off this elephant as he goes trudging through this river into the next entry level to get out of the river. And so you're, the ladies that I was with, all the Australian ladies were really quite adventurous. So we had a really good time. I don't think we really had many problems. The spiders were the ones that freaked me out more than anything, but it was pretty cool.
Did they have license plates or what was it?
Nope. And when they dropped fuel, you knew it. I can tell you that. So.
Oh, geez.
Don't get near an elephant when it's ready to let go. That's all I got.
Yeah. Pro tip: do not stand near the exits. Got it.
My other big one was Australia, and so I spent a month there. I literally flew into Sydney and took a bus to a little motorcycle shop. And the way it worked in Australia was I couldn't really rent the bike, so I had to buy it. Mm-hmm. So I bought a little Yamaha XT 600. The deal was I rode it for the month, and if I brought it back into the shop in a decent order, he bought it back. And so it didn't really work out that way. But so I grabbed that bike and I rode around for a month, and then in a crazy couple of weeks, talked my brother into coming in. So we met in a little town north in the Kimberleys and hooked up with a guy with some pretty good dirt bikes. And he took us outback riding for 5 or 6 days, I believe, of just crazy Australian outback fires, aboriginals, just beautiful water holes every day we went swimming in. So that was very cool. We didn't get to Ayers Rock, but we spent most of the time in northern Australia riding around dirt bikes. I thought it was just awesome. I go back there in a heartbeat.
Oh, wow. Okay. And just out of curiosity, right, I've seen the Fink, right? A lot of people know the Fink, right? The Baja 1000, then there's the Fink, and then there's, of course, the Dakar Rally, and a bunch of rallies in between. But what's the terrain like down there? I mean, is it compared to Baja?
It is. There's some similarities. It's got a lot of different cutouts in the way the rocks operate. And so, it's a vast, big old island, Australia is. And so, much to like Baja, you can run down to the coast and you're back up into the mountains. There's a lot of flat land in Australia that goes into the interior. We rode through a couple of days through just bushfires. Like the road the 2-track road we rode through had literally bushfires going on both sides of it. Like you could feel the flame and the heat coming off as we were cruising down the road. As it turns out, some of it's natural and some of it is the Aboriginals there would light the fields on fire to drive the animals towards them so they could hunt. And so there was a mixed flow of what was working on in Australia. But, the people are so cool. And I think it was home to one of my first tattoos in a little town called Manly Beach. So it was cool.
Nice. And that, I mean, it's kind of crazy, right? The necessity of it, right? You get fire. I wouldn't have thought, like, I think fire's a natural occurrence and all that, but I wouldn't think that, it's actually a hunting tactic. But
yeah, the buffalo, running the buffalo off the cliff kind of thing for the Indians. The Aboriginals found their way to do a little bit of hunting and getting some of that. The vastness of the land, made some of that difficult for them. So, and there were certainly tensions between the people that moved into Australia and the people that were there originally, which is a lot like what you see in the States and Canada. It's a tough balancing, but the coast of Sydney and Melbourne, and it's really weird to fly into Australia, get on Pacific Coast Highway 1, okay? Mm-hmm. You're a California guy, right? Mm-hmm. You get on the Australian PCH highway heading north, mm-hmm. and the ocean is on your right. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah. In Cali, you're doing that it's all like cattywampus a little bit,
Yeah, so. Completely the opposite. You're headed south to have the ocean on your right.
Yeah, and I rode in a lot of countries that you're riding on the wrong side of the road, which I fundamentally have come to believe that riding on the left side of the road is the preferred way to do it for right-handed people.
Interesting. I'm left-handed, so that's not going to work for me.
You're doing great in the States. Don't change.
Yeah.
That's why there's so many accidents, because us right-handed people got to turn left into oncoming traffic. It's just not. It's not right.
It's just not natural. Yeah. And it's interesting because I've seen the KTM Adventure Rally and stuff like that, and some of the stickers that I've seen, reminder stickers that they put on the windscreens, like stay ride left or whatever it is, to make sure.
In Ireland, they have big signs on the highways in German that talk about how many Germans have died in Ireland this year, because in Germany you're on the right and in Ireland you're on the left. And so riding in Ireland throughout the whole highway system, they just kept screaming, Achtung, Achtung, attention, you will die unless you get on the right, get back to the left side of the road. So
yeah, it's things you wouldn't really think of, right? If you haven't traveled the world or haven't been to these places, you would never know that. I never knew that those signs existed, that they would remind people of that, other than the stickers that I've seen, but that's on a whole nother genre.
And, it changes in a train ride for a couple hours, because you move from one country to another country, certainly in Europe, very quickly, and then it spreads back out again as you get into Egypt and some of the areas to Thailand and back around, So.
Yeah, man, that is absolutely crazy. So the theme, and as I'm, talking, to you guys is rally racers have seen the world. At some point have seen the world or have traveled to a few different destinations. So
I believe in Darren Skillen's Sonora Rally philosophies, like it's, Rally has provided, I think he said Rally provided him, and I believe it just a great opportunity to have amazing adventures around the world and meet some like-minded, phenomenal people. And that's certainly been the case for me. Getting into this rally world has been awesome. I've met Canadians I've re-loved. You just take a look at some of the people we've met, the guys on the team, and Mo Hart and Kyle. I mean, it's you just don't get a better stock of people than rally people,
Yeah. Yeah, it's very it's an interesting, it's a club, but everybody's kind of welcome. It's a very different, it's an interesting dynamic. And I guess, if you're into whatever sport you're into, if you're into shuffleboard, I'm sure the shuffleboard groups are, are just as welcoming. But the motorcycle adventures seem to, you don't hear about the shuffleboard, international, the Dakar equivalent of shuffleboard, or what's that other one that There's the one that they throw the weight down the ice and they got the guys sweeping in front of it.
Oh, curling.
Curling. There we go.
Yep.
Curling, you may get to see the world since it's part of the Olympics.
Curling, you get drunk and you throw rocks at each other. Let's be real. I grew up in a small town in Saskatchewan. We got drunk and we threw rocks at each other on the ice. Somebody professionally called it curling. But for most Canadians, it's getting drunk and throwing rocks at each other.
So this was a more TV-friendly version.
Yes, yeah.
There we go.
Yes, you could go back like 10 years of curling videos and you'll look at the body shapes. You'll know it was a drinking game. more than the professional sport that's now in the Olympics that it's become. That's right. It's the Kansas bobsled team, well, Freedom Rally guys.
I feel like I want to find the origin story of curling. I feel like that might be an interesting road.
We could get Jim back on because I find my brother has a head full of crazy, useless information like this. And so it's possible that Jim knows the origin of this game. I don't know. If there's a guy that knows, he would pull that up. So
I wonder if it was one of those like it was a bet. They were trying to decide something, and that's how they were going to decide it. I'm going to throw this down, and if you make it within this range, you're good. I don't know. I
am Canadian by birth, Victor, and American by naturalization. So it's always to go do this event where we're really going to try and break some American records is personally awesome for me because of my Canadian heritage and my American patronage. Yeah. I'm proud to be part of both countries. So it's one of the things I packed, which was my American flag, and then I struggled to like, should I bring my Canadian one too?
I mean, that it's kind of crazy. You would. That's a really good question.
I don't know.
I'm not in that situation, but at the same time, I'm kind of thinking like because that podium picture, right? That at the end, the emotion of that. And the road that it has been, because it's not, maybe some people, it's just another race and it's just another rally, but the Dakar is such a bucket list item, is such a big undertaking. It's not something, not very many people get to decide in 1 year and put that together and say, okay, it's January, next January, I'm going to be in Dakar.
Yeah, it is. For me, this personally is a real bucket list item. Huge credit to my brother. And I think I've told you, but about 8 years ago, I had a huge motorcycle street bike accident and ended up in the hospital for a couple of weeks and broke a leg and a foot, and a knee, and all my ribs and spleen and kidney stuff. And as I was laying in the hospital bed, my brother, who's a encourager of getting up and continuing to go, was like, all right, what are we doing next? What's the next adventure? Where do we start our plans? And I'm like, and I said to him, I've always really wanted to do the Dakar, I thought that was just one of the most awesomest, hugest, biggest events in the world. And we percolated through motocross to hare scrambles, to enduros, to desert races. And we thought that was the epitome of the top of it. And so sure enough, he got connected, and he was the guy that signed us up for our first Sonora rally in 2017. And he's like, we're going to do it. Let's go do it. And it was one of those things that just got me out of the wheelchair and back onto the motorcycle and back into the racing world. And, it's been cool ever since. So
nice. That's huge. I mean, so the journey started in 2017.
Journey for rally started for me in 2017. We clearly went down and chased the Dakar in 2014 just to get a picture of what that looked like. We've just been, riders for almost 40 years. So you can't not ride motorcycles and not have some understanding at some level of what the Dakar is. And in 14 is when we really got educated on how daunting and challenging it is and how much the road book and the navigation plays into the game. And that really both got both of our brains moving and added to the strategy of what we do. And so it's just been it's, I have too much rally equipment right now, Victor. Do you need some?
We're getting there. I got a 501 that seems like it's going to be my life's project.
Matt.
Okay, Victor. Okay, David. Here's the history of the 411 on curling.
Here we go. Ladies and gentlemen, we interrupt this for...
It's been around since the 16th century, and they say that the Scots kind of invented it, but it was the first team sport in the world. FYI. Oh, no. See you guys. Time out. Gotta go.
All right, Jim. Thank you.
Victor, we used to joke that Jim kind of had a bit of a Walmart brain. Whole lot of shit up there, not really worth much. Over time, it's evolved. He's gotten better, and we're kind of at the Target kind of mode. We weren't thinking we were quite at Neiman Marcus, but we're at the La Target kind of section.
Well, hey, we're moving up, but think about it. Okay, so things we've discussed: the second oldest profession in the book, the first oldest team sport in the book. So we're covering a lot of ground here, and then of course, the round the world adventures. You backpacking and Jim and the Earth Roamer, picking spots with a dartboard. So I think we're doing good. So. What is, we're literally countdown, right? You guys are only a few days out before shipping?
We are, yeah. We're less than 2 weeks, week and a half.
Nice. What's left on the list? What is it for you guys?
I've been joking with people. I'm like, I'm ready to fly out tomorrow. I have little things. The FIM license was the big one. We crested over that today. Mild. I got a couple things from Amazon still waiting to show up, which is a small battery charger just to keep my air vest rolling, so I don't have to go fight with the battery systems at the Malimoto tent, and just some little stuff. But ultimately, I'm truly ready to rock and roll. We've had such great support from everybody. I just can't even begin to thank the climbs and the giant loops, and the Alpenstar guys and the Recluse systems, and it's just been awesome. Your support and help. I know you're going to try and do some daily updates for us, because once we get into it, we just got to get into it. There's not going to be much time for a phone WhatsApp test check. It's not how that's going to work. And so part of it is about the disconnection you're going to get when you get there. You just got to focus on this. You can't let other stuff in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a very interesting. I think that is very interesting, and it started with you saying, it's like the idea of ignoring the results, like that. Literally, like it starts there, because the only result is the finish, is the end. The end game of it. It's not the stuff in between. And by that token, we also know in rally it's the same thing, and I've seen it time and time again. If you focus on navigation and just having a clean day, you just rise to the top without even trying, because the people that are pushing really hard, they're riding over their head, that are doing all of that stuff, it's very counterproductive in short order. So I think, I think what you said is very important, and focusing on that. And yeah, I'm absolutely looking forward to doing the updates and hearing about you guys. And I try and stay out of the hair of the guys out there, when they're out at the Dakar, not messaging them, because I know they're getting a ton of stuff, requests and people want information. So I'm happy to help with that and help ease that, because of course you guys are doing a big thing. You guys have put together a hell of a team, and with all the support and all that stuff. So yeah, we want to hear about it. So I'm happy to be the funnel and get that information out for you guys.
Well, here's a couple milestones for you from our historian Kyle, right? So we know this is going to be one of the biggest attended American motorcycle class that they've ever seen. We know after day 6, we've crested beyond what any other American's done in Malimoto. So we got to get over that milestone. And then our big goal is to bring 5 guys across the finish line. And so we know that's an individually tough sport that we all have to be capable of being aware of, trying to help each other out, right? Whether it be on the actual course during a special stage or a liaison, or in the compound and the bivouac, helping each other through late night activities. So it's going to be a test of our emotional fortitude and our personalities and our friendship. So I'm excited to go through that.
Yeah, I'm visualizing it, and I'll make sure I'm cutting up onions for the podium ceremony. That way I got an excuse. But that I think is going to be really cool. See all 5 of you guys on that at the end, and I mean, if there's a team that can do it, I know it's you guys. That's the dynamic that you guys work together, and it's a bunch of guys that you guys don't know how to say no and don't know how to, quit. So I think that's the mentality going into this.
Yeah, it's going to be a year, thanks to Jim and Kyle and all of us just all over the country. We have not yet in the last year all been in the same room at the same time. Video chats, conversations, races around the world. None of us have. We've all been together in different places at different time, different things, but we've never all been together in the same room for almost a year. So
that's good. So it'll be a good reunion.
It's going to be a good dinner when we all land, with no drinking, which is going to be, might be somber. We'll see how it goes. But,
it'll be, there's the task at hand. There's this pesky rally or whatever, something like that, the Dakar or something going on.
Yes, I'm still just trying to put some weight on. So I've convinced my wife that 2% milk, ice cream, Hershey's dark sauce, and Chips Ahoy cookies are good for me every day.
Yes, that is a part of a balanced calorie intake, high on calcium, right? Makes the bones stronger. The sugar, brain needs sugar. Pulling every excuse out of the...
I lost a good chunk of weight just doing 3 rallies in, October. And so someone's just been trying to put a couple pounds back on,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that was one of the things that a lot of, we noticed it around the bivouac that you had dropped some weight. I mean, you were looking fit and looking ready for, this 15-day challenge.
My old body's taking a beating, so I'm doing my best to keep it all glued together. So she's got metal and plates and screws and all sorts of pieces in there, but everything seems to be operating. So I'm going to get there with everything I can. So we'll do our best for some video and occasional WhatsApp text for you too, if you're,
Oh yeah, sharing. Absolutely. Just send them. Don't, that's going to be the big thing. I think that not coordinating it and just, if you got a second to send an update or whatever, I'll worry about getting it out and relaying the information. That way you guys can get to business. So,
very cool.
Very nice. And yeah, I believe the plates and all, they call that strategic reinforcement. So you should be good. Nice. Well, excellent. Well, I'm going to let you get back to it because it's Friday and I know you guys got some things to do.
Thank you. Good talking to you, sir.
Yeah,
I'm sure say hi to the rest of the boys as they come through your interview process. And I'll see you. Merry Christmas.
Yeah.
Happy
Merry Christmas and Happy New Year. And yeah, absolutely. And looking forward to helping you guys and staying up to date with you guys.
You got it, buddy.
Awesome. Thank you. Cheers. All right, so there you have it. That was David and Jim Pearson of the American Rally Originals. And very interesting. I had an idea. I thought that this was going to be a big undertaking, right? And there's so many moving pieces to the rally and what they're going to be doing. Now that they've basically completed most of that list and now we're getting ready to head out there, it's like, okay, well, maybe it's time to reflect. And that's, I'm looking forward to it. We still got, Mo, we still got Kyle, and we still got Jeff on that. So, or Paul, I'm sorry, Paul Neff. I'm thinking Jeff Neff. Paul. So we still have 3 more of the team, the ARO team to go on this one. And it's crazy, and I really am picturing, all 5 of these guys sitting there doing their thing and at the podium at the finish line, and celebrating this because of this huge undertaking that it's going to be. So I'm absolutely looking forward to that. We still got a few more episodes to record on this to do it. But my goal is to get this out before they head out to the Dakar. So then that way you guys have some background, right? The American Rally Originals team, headed out to the Dakar and doing what they're going to do. So, as promised earlier in the show and what we talked about, let's talk rally updates. So Baja Rally announces that they're going to be opening up their entries, and with a limited of 20 discounted entries. So those are going to be up for grabs here coming up soon, January 1st. So definitely want to get in that. And remember, they are going 6 days again. So that is absolutely awesome. 6-day, nice long rally. A lot of racing for you guys that are interested in and are looking to do your first rally. You know, Baja's very awesome place to go down and ride just any other day. But to have a rally down there, and with some of the routes that Scotty and the team down there get to put together, are absolutely epic. So I hope if you guys are looking at Rally Raid and doing some stuff, that is definitely one of the rally raids to look at. Next on that one, also Sonora Rally announcing, and I believe their target date is also January 1st for opening entries to their rally in April. Remember, this time around, and for the first year, is going to be a round of the World Rally Raid Championship. So I've got some more information on that one. I kind of need to do a separate episode just on what's going on with it, because there's been a lot of questions. There's a lot of rumors. There's a lot of stuff going on about, oh, well, now that it's a World Rally Raid Championship, the entry fees quadrupled, and you can only run 453cc bikes at most. And there's a bunch of stuff going on. So I've been speaking back and forth with Darren and talking a little bit about, the rules and what it's looking like. And I can tell you right now, the very first thing that comes every time when we're having those conversations, it gets reiterated, is the vibe. Darren is very, very aware of what he's built for Sonora Rally and how that's come together with all of the people that have contributed to it. He does not want to change that vibe. It's just getting bigger. It's just growing. But there are things that he has in place and things that he is very much working for to make sure that the vibe doesn't change on the event. So that is for Sonora Rally. They've also announced their school. They are going to be doing a Sonora Rally school. I'll be looking at, and I'm actually going to message the Baja Rally team and see what they've got going on for their school coming in short order. So I definitely want to know what is going to be up with that. Let me see here. Get you guys the Sonora Rally dates. I believe that is going to be in February. That is like the 17th, 18th, and 19th. It's President's Day weekend. Is going to be the Sonora Rally School. So for those of you guys that are interested in doing some rally training, that is definitely another place you want to get to. Do the rally trainings. If you guys are curious or are interested in participating in your first event, make that first event the rally schools. The way that these trainings are operated are basically like a live rally, and then they have some training and coaching in between. So I think that very much, although maybe a little bit more relaxed, but it gets you some really good experience for different events, and getting ready to go do a multi-day event. So I think that if you're signed up for any of the rally schools and getting that information, I think it's going to be a very, very big step forward. Don't bite it off one piece at a time, right? Don't set your sights yet on entering the Dakar before entering, either the Sonora Rally or the Baja Rally. Definitely get your feet wet, get your legs, and then grow from there. And we have enough rallies here in the North America region, including the Kota Rally, which is also coming up. I've got a call a little bit later today with Mike Graves from the Kota Rally to talk a little bit about the event and what's been going on and what's coming. He's already been working hard. I've seen the posts already, and that event is coming soon, which is going to be really nice. Hey, we've got a full-on rally here in the United States where we can go and do our thing. So for you guys that are interested in more information on that, I will be getting that information to you as well. I think what we'll do is a combination episode where we'll do the updates on the Sonora Rally stuff. I'll try and get information from all three events and then relay it all in one episode, so you guys have a menu to choose from, or so to speak. Or hell, you'll have a series. You can plan out your rally calendar and what events you're going to be attending to. And then also remember too, that's another big thing too, is a lot of the organizations are usually looking for hands and people to help with it. And when you go and volunteer and help at these events, you kind of get a lay of the land and the flow. You get an idea of the inner workings of what the organization has to do to put an event like this on. And I believe that on the other end, just like once you know how to make road books, it's the same thing. Once you know how to make road books, once you know how an organization works, you're only going to be that much better when you're on the other side of the table. So I highly encourage that as well. If you guys want more information on volunteering for these events, please do not hesitate. Send me a message. I will get you in contact with the correct people, so that way you guys can get a rundown on what you can do or what you may be able to help with. So I'm definitely glad to help on that side of it. So anyway, with that being said, guys, I hope everybody is having a great week. I think we're getting close. I'm getting excited. Episode 100 coming. I've got some announcements. I've got some stuff for that already. So I am excited about that. I'm going to keep a lid on it, though. We still got 6 more episodes to go. So anyway, with that being said, remember, it'll make sense when you get there. Enjoy the ride.